The sun had barely touched the horizon when the first shadows appeared in the sky. Hyun pressed her nose against the thick glass window, watching the massive shapes descend like metal mountains. Her small fingers traced the condensation, creating tiny patterns as the alien ships blocked out the morning light. People were running everywhere. Grown-ups shouted, children cried, and the colony's emergency sirens wailed a desperate song of panic. But Hyun remained calm. At 8 years old, she had a quiet strength that made her different from other kids. Her father always said she had an old soul. A scientist who studied alien environments, he'd spent years teaching her about unexpected dangers and how to think critically. Those lessons were about to become more than just bedtime stories. The first alien execution beast stepped onto the colony's ground. It wasn't like anything humans had ever seen before. Imagine a creature standing 3 times taller than the strongest human, with skin that looked like moving metal and limbs that could slice through steel like butter. Its movements were precise, calculated, each step deliberate and terrifying. Hyun watched as colonial defense teams scrambled. Their weapons looked like toys against these monsters. Massive energy cannons sparked and died. Armored vehicles crumpled like paper under the aliens' incredible strength. It was clear within minutes, this was going to be a massacre. But Hyun saw something different. While everyone else saw pure destruction, she noticed patterns. The way the creatures moved, how they communicated, the slight hesitations between their attacks. Most people would call it impossible, but to her it looked like a complex puzzle waiting to be solved. Her mother, a communications specialist, had always encouraged Hyun's curious nature. Information is power, she would say. And right now, Hyun was collecting every piece of information she could. The colony looked like a broken toy. Buildings collapsed, smoke rose in thick columns, and the ground trembled with each step of the alien execution beasts. Families were being evacuated, but something told Hyun that running wasn't the answer. These creatures could track movement. They were hunting, not just destroying. In the chaos, Hyun noticed something most people missed. The aliens had a rhythm to their destruction. They weren't random. They were methodical, almost like they were searching for something specific. Her mind started connecting dots that nobody else could see. Her small workshop, a corner of her father's research lab, suddenly seemed like the most important place in the world. Electronic parts, communication devices, and strange scientific equipment surrounded her. Where others saw junk, Hyun saw potential weapons. The execution beasts continued their march. Each step crushed another piece of human civilization. But they didn't know Hyun was watching. They didn't realize that a small girl with a curious mind and her father's scientific training was about to become their biggest problem. In that moment, surrounded by destruction and fear, Hyun made a decision. She wasn't going to run. She wasn't going to hide. She was going to fight back, and her weapon wouldn't be something big and loud. It would be something small, smart, and completely unexpected. The aliens thought they knew everything about conquest. They thought they understood humanity. But they were about to learn a lesson they would never forget. Hyun smiled. The real battle was just beginning. Her adventure was about to change everything. The colony might be falling, but hope was just getting started. This wasn't just a story about survival. This was a story about human determination, and it was going to be one hell of a fight. The execution beasts continued their march, unaware that their greatest challenge was a small girl with nothing but her brain, some electronic parts, and an unbreakable spirit. Little did they know they had just met their match. The research lab looked like a hurricane had torn through it. Papers scattered across the floor, equipment knocked over, and emergency lights casting an eerie red glow. But Hyun moved with purpose, her small hands carefully sorting through her father's research journals. Most kids her age would be terrified. Most would be hiding, crying, waiting for someone to rescue them. But Hyun was different. She understood something critical. Survival wasn't about waiting. It was about thinking. Her father's journals were her treasure. Years of xenobiological research, alien communication studies, and complex technological analysis, all carefully documented in neat handwriting. While other children read storybooks, Hyun had been studying alien communication patterns since she was 5. She pulled out a specific notebook, its pages yellow and worn, covered in diagrams that looked more like complex mathematical equations than anything else. This was the key. She could feel it. The sounds of destruction continued, outside. Massive alien footsteps shook the ground. But inside this lab, Hyun was building something. Her fingers moved quickly, connecting tiny electronic components with a precision that would make professional engineers jealous. What she was creating wasn't a weapon in the traditional sense. It was something far more sophisticated, a communication disruptor, a device that could potentially break the aliens' neural network, their most powerful weapon. Her mind worked like a complex computer, each movement calculated, each decision precise. The alien execution beasts might have advanced technology, but they had one critical weakness. They relied entirely on their collective intelligence. If that network could be broken, they would become vulnerable. Hyun remembered her father's lessons. Every system has a weakness, he would say. You just need to find the right approach. Those words echoed in her mind as she worked. Around her, the colony continued to fall. Communication systems were down. Defense teams were being systematically eliminated. But here, in this small lab, hope was being built piece by piece. The device took shape. It wasn't impressive to look at. Just a collection of modified communication relays, capacitors, and custom-built signal modulators. But Hyun knew its potential was extraordinary. She thought about the aliens outside. Massive creatures that seemed invincible. They had destroyed entire civilizations. They moved with a precision that suggested absolute technological superiority. But they didn't know about her. No one knew about her. Her mother always said she was special. Not in the way parents usually mean, but truly special. A mind that could see connections others missed. A brain that worked differently. The lab's emergency systems flickered. Power was failing. But Hyun worked faster, her concentration unbroken. Each component carefully placed, each connection meticulously checked. Outside, the world was ending. Inside, something extraordinary was being created. She wasn't just building a device, she was building hope. Her small hands moved with a confidence that belied her age. 8 years old, and she was about to challenge an alien invasion that had destroyed entire military forces. The device wasn't perfect, but it didn't need to be perfect. It just needed to work. One chance. That's all she needed. The alien execution. Beasts thought they had won. They thought humanity was finished. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Hyun looked at her creation. It wasn't much to look at. A collection of wires, modified circuits, and experimental technology. But it represented something powerful. Human determination, human innovation, the ability to fight back when all hope seems lost. She picked up the device. It was time to change everything. The real battle was just beginning, and nobody, not a single alien, saw her coming. The maintenance tunnels were dark, damp, and narrow. Perfect for someone small, perfect for Hyun. Most adults would have gotten stuck. Their bulky protective gear, their muscular bodies, all useless in these tight spaces. But Hyun was different. She was lean, agile, and knew exactly how to move, silently. Her breathing was controlled, each breath measured, her heart rate steady. Years of listening to her father's survival lectures weren't just stories anymore. They were becoming her lifeline. The tunnel system was a hidden network beneath the colony, originally designed for quick maintenance and emergency evacuations. Now it was becoming her secret pathway to survival. Each metal grate, each tiny intersection was a potential route to understanding the alien invasion. Hyun's device felt heavy in her small backpack, not because of its weight but because of its potential. One wrong move could destroy everything. One miscalculation could mean the end of the colony. She could hear the alien execution beasts above. Their massive footsteps created vibrations that traveled through the metal tunnels. Boom, pause. Boom, pause. A terrifying rhythm of destruction. Most children her age would be crying, hiding, waiting to be rescued. But Hyun wasn't most children. She was calculating, observing, planning. The tunnels twisted and turned. Some passages were so narrow she had to crawl. Her knees scraped against cold metal. Her hands moved carefully, pushing aside old maintenance tools and forgotten equipment. Her father's training echoed in her mind. Always have a backup plan. Always understand your environment. Those lessons were no longer academic. They were survival instructions. The aliens' technology was advanced. Their sensors could detect heat signatures, movement, even subtle electromagnetic waves. But these tunnels were designed to be invisible, shielded, undetectable. Hyun's small size became her greatest weapon. Where adult soldiers saw impossible terrain, she saw opportunity. Where military strategists saw dead ends, she saw potential routes. Her breathing remained steady. No panic, no fear. Just pure, calculated determination. She knew the risks. One wrong sound. One accidental movement. The aliens could detect her instantly. Detection meant certain death. But she had prepared. Her clothing was modified to reduce heat signature. Her movements were calculated to minimize vibration. The device in her backpack wasn't just a weapon. It was hope. Compressed hope. Technological hope. Each tunnel intersection was a decision point. Left or right, up or down. Her mind worked like a complex mapping system, continuously recalculating the most efficient route. Above her, the colony continued to fall. Buildings crumbled. Defense systems failed. Humans ran or were captured. But here, in these dark tunnels, something different was happening. A small girl was becoming humanity's unexpected hero. The alien execution beasts thought they understood human technology. They thought they knew human capabilities. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Hyun moved forward, silent, determined, undetected. Her infiltration had begun, and nobody, absolutely nobody, saw her coming. The real battle was about to start, and it would be fought by the most unexpected warrior imaginable, an 8-year-old girl with nothing but her brain, her father's teachings, and an impossible dream of survival. The tunnels continued, dark, mysterious, waiting. And Hyun kept moving, one careful step at a time. The moment felt like electricity. Hyun's fingers hovered over the device she'd spent hours creating. One push, one single connection. That's all it would take to change everything. Her heart beat fast, but her hands remained steady. Around her, the maintenance tunnel walls seemed to close in, creating a tiny battlefield of human potential against alien technology. The execution beasts moved above her, thinking they were unstoppable. Their neural network connected them like a massive living computer. Each creature part of a collective intelligence so advanced it had destroyed countless civilizations. They communicated faster than human thought, moved with perfect synchronization. But they didn't know about Hyun. She took a deep breath. Her father's lessons echoed in her mind. Every system has a weakness. You just need to understand its language. The EO device looked simple, just a collection of modified circuits and experimental signal modulators. But to Hyun, it was a symphony of potential destruction. She pressed the activation button. Nothing happened immediately. No dramatic explosion. No massive light show. Just a subtle electronic pulse that began traveling through the hidden communication networks. At first, the aliens continued their destruction. Massive footsteps, crushing buildings, destroying everything in their path. Then something changed. The first execution beast twitched. Just a tiny movement, almost unnoticeable. Another one turned slightly, its movement becoming jerky, uncertain. Hyun watched, her breath caught in her throat. The electromagnetic disruption was working exactly as she predicted. Their perfect collective. Intelligence was becoming a battlefield of conflicting signals. Where they once moved as one, now they started fighting each other. Signals crossed. Commands became confused. It was like watching a perfect machine suddenly develop multiple personalities. One execution beast raised its weapon against another, then another turned and attacked its companion. Their synchronized movement dissolved into chaos. Hyun had found their ultimate weakness. Their strength, their collective neural network, was now becoming their greatest vulnerability. Explosions started happening, not from external attacks, but from the aliens turning against each other. Their advanced weaponry now directed inward, destroying their own kind. The colony, which moments ago was being systematically destroyed, now watched in stunned silence. Humans who moments ago were running for their lives now stood watching in disbelief. A small girl had done what entire military forces couldn't. She had broken an unbreakable system. The neural network collapsed like a complex house of cards. Each execution beast became an individual entity, confused and suddenly vulnerable. Hyun's device continued its work, each pulse creating more confusion, more internal conflict. She wasn't just fighting, she was rewriting the rules of warfare. The aliens had studied humanity for centuries. They thought they understood human limitations. They believed they knew exactly how humans would respond. They were wrong. As the last execution beast fell, turning its own weapon against itself, Hyun realized something profound. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't in its technology. It was in its ability to think differently, to find solutions where others saw only problems. The maintenance tunnel around her remained silent. Just a small girl, a destroyed device, and the remnants of an alien invasion now turned to dust. Nobody would ever believe what just happened, but it happened, and Hyun knew this was just the beginning. The silence was deafening. Where alien destruction had ruled moments ago, now only broken machinery and confused survivors remained. And at the center of it all, a small girl named Hyun, standing quietly among the remnants of what could have been humanity's final moment. News travels fast, but legend travels faster. Within hours, communication channels across multiple star systems buzzed with an unbelievable story. An 8-year-old girl had single-handedly defeated the most feared alien execution force in galactic history. Scientists wanted to study her. Military commanders wanted to understand her strategy. Diplomatic teams from dozens of planetary systems requested meetings. But Hyun wasn't interested in fame. Her parents looked at her differently now. Not with fear or confusion, but with a profound respect. Her father's scientific journals, once just bedtime stories, had become her training manual. Her mother's communication research had transformed into her weapon. The alien technology lay scattered. Advanced machinery that had conquered hundreds of worlds now looked like broken toys. Each piece told a story of unexpected human potential. Interviews came. Researchers wanted to understand how she did it. But Hyun's explanation was always simple. They thought they knew everything about us, she would say. But they didn't understand how humans really work. Her device, the electromagnetic disruptor, became a legend, not because of its complexity, but because of its elegant simplicity. She had essentially turned the aliens' greatest strength into their ultimate weakness. Planetary governments began studying her techniques. Military academies developed entire training programs based on her approach. What seemed like a miracle was actually a carefully calculated solution. Some called it luck. Others called it genius. Hyun called it problem-solving. The galactic community saw something profound. Humanity wasn't just another species to be conquered. They were adaptable, unpredictable, capable of finding solutions where others saw only problems. Her story spread like wildfire. Children began studying her techniques. Young students saw her as a hero, not because she was violent, but because she was smart. Years later, when asked about that day, Hyun would simply smile. "I just did what needed to be done," she would say. The alien execution beast became a cautionary tale, a reminder that technological superiority doesn't guarantee victory, that understanding is more powerful than pure strength. Her parents watched with quiet pride. They had raised a daughter who understood that knowledge was the ultimate weapon. That curiosity could change everything. Diplomatic missions would later describe this moment as the first true recognition of human potential in the galactic community. A small girl had rewritten the rules of engagement. The colony was rebuilt. The broken machinery became museums. Children would visit and hear the story of how one 8-year-old girl saved humanity. But for Hyun, it was never about being a hero. It was about solving a problem, about proving that human potential has no limits. The universe learned a valuable lesson that day. Never underestimate humanity's capacity for survival. And it all started with a small girl, some electronic parts, and an unbreakable spirit. Legends aren't born, they're created, one impossible moment at a time.